UFC London just recently wrapped up, and I am going to recap the entire card. I'll start with the first fight of the night and then work my way up to the main event of the evening. Make sure you guys hit the likes, and if you're new, subscribe. Let's jump right into things. Fight number one, it was Kutateladze versus Kauê Fernandes. This was actually a really impressive win for Kauê. He completely dominated this fight. Outstruck Garam, had Garam hurt. His kicks were on point. His punches were pretty good. The karate style bladed stance that Kauê had was honestly pretty efficient with his striking flow, but into takedown defense because he had Garam shooting 5 takedowns and failing every one of them. Garam really had no answer here. What did he get hurt with the head kick early in the fight? Got caught with some big shots. It's like Kutateladze got completely ran out of the damn cage, essentially, in this matchup. Kauê Fernandes, incredible 30-27 performance. I said this during the live stream. Garam has a stance, like the way he holds his set and all, of a world champion level fighter. But his offense is just like not that good. He like throws a right hand, doesn't really have a jab, has okay body kicks, but doesn't really have much else. Takedown threat is pretty minimal. I mean, he's in good shape. He's got a, decent amount of recovery ability. He gets hurt and then comes back and survives as best as he can. He's ripped up and shredded, but completely and utterly picked apart in a one-sided ass whooping here against Kauê Fernandes, which I guess this was like the breakout performance for Kauê. Let me pop out this in real quick because he's got to be riding high as a huge underdog to come in, outstrike Garam, stop all of his takedown attempts. The fact that he won was impressive, but like the fact that he just utterly whooped Garam is even more impressive. If it was a close win, it would have been like, wow, that's sick. But like he showed levels to Garam. And then he said he wants to fight in like a month or two. So gotta say, Kauê Fernandes' skill set pretty damn good. I don't know, where the UFC is going to match him up. I know the Jared Gordon fight was supposed to happen at one point. I'd favor him against Jared Gordon. I was going to pick him before. Here in this one, I guess I got blinded by the Kutateladze Georgian savagery to think that he would go out and win. But yeah, man, Garam absolutely handled. Really just didn't have effective offense. Leg was getting chopped apart. Got dropped with leg kicks multiple times throughout the fight. It was just absolute dismantling of Garam's stand-up and completely failing on all the grappling attempts. He got destroyed. He got beat up, busted up, lost every single round, and lost the vast majority of the exchanges. Kauê looked very good, and you got to feel as though Garam ended up being a bit of a bust. I remember when he came into the UFC with a good amount of hype when he fought Mateusz Gamrot, even in the fight after that against Ismagulov. Like, the hype was real on Garam, you thought. No, he's a bust now. 2-3 in the UFC and very easily could be looking at getting released. I don't know if they're going to keep him around. We'll see. Definitely not an inspiring loss, really. I mean, he showed toughness. I guess I won't absolutely just destroy Garam here. Right? He seems like a good guy, and he definitely's got some heart, but just doesn't have much effective striking skill, isn't very accurate, doesn't have good grappling. He's tough. He's got a gas tank. He's ripped. But outside of that, man, there was nothing. He got wrecked by Kauê. Next fight, Nathan Fletcher versus Loughran. Complete robbery. Complete and utter robbery in this fight. I was shocked to see the scorecards at the end of the fight. Really, I was quite surprised. I thought that Nathan Fletcher had done enough to secure a competitive first round, but you could argue that Loughran could have got the first round, right? Brought some decent pressure towards Nathan Fletcher and like made him uncomfortable in certain positions, but still wasn't really landing much effectiveness, right? Second round, Fletcher was utterly dominant, completely dominated the second round, had the back of Loughran, was throwing good ground and power, I guess, standing strikes. He was, I guess it was standing for Loughran, but he had the body triangle standing, did Fletcher. And he's landing big shots from there, honestly, threatening with submission attempt. Definitely thought that he had secured the second round. So let's say the first round, you could call it 1-1 going into the third. Loughran actually starts looking pretty damn good in the early portion of round number 3 with his pressure. But then I thought Nathan Fletcher surely stole the round with big elbow, big punches, big combos in close range towards the cage and like busting Loughran up a bit and cracking him. Like I thought causing the cut in the way that he did in that third round would be enough to secure the third and final round. I was actually quite surprised with a Loughran decision because like all he really did in that third round was hold, and then Fletcher was able to get some effective damage off. Now, granted, I guess there was takedowns for Loughran, but it wasn't like there was like effectiveness with the takedown. It's more just positional control for moments, and then he'd lose it. And Fletcher, late in round 3, busted Loughran up. I was actually shocked by the decision here. It's like, wow, I don't know. Seeing unanimous decision as well has had me confused. No, I was split. Excuse me. I'm thinking of a different fight. Just seeing 29-28 Loughran, I just don't agree with it. I thought you have to give it to Fletcher. Doing big damage late in the fight, cracking Loughran, and around that, was kind of not much happening, both nullifying one another. I thought that definitely you favor Fletcher's damaging shots. I was real surprised that Loughran escaped with the decision here. I didn't agree with the decision. I thought that Fletcher won the fight. Could have been 29-28, but really there's an argument for 30-27. I don't think it's a crazy idea. So seeing 29-28 Loughran had me head scratching a little bit. I think this was definitely a robbery. They fought as an amateur. They fought as pros now. Maybe they run it back. I doubt that they do that right away. I'm not matchmaking for guys towards the back end of bantamweight. I will say Loughran looks strong. Loughran looked better than he did last fight against Jake Hadley. He definitely showed some grappling ability, definitely showed to be in great physical condition. He's a tough customer, but I still thought that he got outworked by Nathan Fletcher, outstruck late by Nathan Fletcher. Loughran said he was trying to channel his inner Marab, and I guess that he did, but I didn't think it was enough to win. So I personally disagree with the scores at the end. I thought Fletcher had it, and I thought this was a really bad decision because, second and third rounds seemed to be obvious Fletcher rounds, and then for it to go towards Loughran, I was worried about decisions forthcoming after this one, and there was more testy decisions. But this one here, I scored it for Fletcher. I picked Fletcher going in, and I know people say, oh, well, that made you biased. I don't think so. I think I scored it pretty down the center. I feel as though I have a pretty good knack at like not bringing my bias into the scorings. And I thought Nathan Fletcher's hand should have been raised at the end for sure. So unfortunately he takes an L, kind of a robbery. Loughran had some decent shots, but overall I think Fletcher did more damage and cut him up in round 3, deserved the win. Second and third round, definitely Fletcher's, and I'd score it for him. Next fight, Shauna, Bannon, Puja, Tomar. Things started out quite testy. Tomar had some success in round 1 with strikes. And then in round 2, she dropped Shauna Bannon with a head kick. I just bursted out laughing in the surprise. I don't know why. I just felt like this fight was just, in essence, absolutely hilarious. Bannon is able to lock in an armbar. The thing is, it's nice as it is she got a sub. Puja Tomar just has no jiu-jitsu. The elbow was past the crotch. She was on her way out. And then she somehow puts herself deeper into the armbar. I was just flabbergasted at the lack of grappling knowledge. I don't know what grappling style. I know in India they have their own grappling style, and it's just inefficient to basic jiu-jitsu because that's all Bannon really needed. It's just simple jiu-jitsu. Locks up an armbar. Tomar puts herself in one deeper and then gets tapped out after landing a great high kick. Tomar was looking good. She looked like she was on her way to beating Shauna Bannon up. Looked like she was on her way to knocking her out. Then she gets armbarred. Women's MMA armbars. Low-level women's MMA. Watch for the armbars. Some of these girls cannot defend it. Holy hell. Puja Tomar gives her arm up. She was out. She could have got out. But no. Instead, the lack of technical defensive abilities got her locked into one. And Shauna Bannon, the hype train continues. But my God, I think she's going to get destroyed at some point. She is definitely... I don't know. She's like the Irish. I don't even want to compare her to Molly Meatballs. Molly Meatballs is better. But she's kind of like the Irish hype job, to be real with you. Let's keep going, man. But Puja Tomar, sad loss for, the pride of Indian MMA taking an L. Landed a nice head kick, but no jiu-jitsu game. Christian Leroy, Duncan, Andrey, Pulyaev. This was one-sided dominance. I mean, Leroy Duncan backed Pulyaev up, outstruck him, outworked him in the clinch. He was a confident pick for everybody, as he should have been. Leroy Duncan's a pretty good prospect at 29, and he's got now, 6 UFC fights, and then Pulyaev was making his debut. There was just a level difference, and you could see that, Duncan had been in there with good fighters, whereas Pulyaev had literally fought pretty much nobody's. I mean, he fought that one Dagestan kickboxer and lost. But outside of that guy, it was all just kind of, mid-level talent or, low-level talent that's inexperienced, I should say. Leroy Duncan did his thing. I mean, pulled off a pretty clear decision in the third round. He did some big damage to Pulyaev against the cage. And even right as the bell rung in round 3, Pulyaev went down to his butt and laid on the floor for a second against the cage because he was getting fucked up. If there's another minute in the fight, Pulaev's knocked out. So Leroy Duncan, when he lets it go, he's pretty dangerous, but he chose to be pretty conservative here. He did a good job of not allowing Pulyaev to have any effective forward pressure offense, because in the skill set that I've witnessed of Pulyaev, he thrives going forward, is shit going backwards, and Christian Leroy Duncan did a good job of exploiting the weakness, which is Pulyaev fighting off the back foot, and pulled off a dominant win. So congrats to Leroy Duncan. Still developing guy at 29, but definitely has some potential. I feel like he's in an interesting spot because like he's fought, a big name like Gregory Rodriguez before. So it's not like he hasn't touched like the, better level of opposition. Let me see if I can get this fucking tab to open up here. No, it won't open. I don't know what the hell's going on. Let's open a new tab. I got to get this top 25 maybe. Is that what we rate Leroy? Top 25-ish? Yeah, maybe. Let's see. All right, Leroy Duncan, where they got him ranked at? Did they got him ranked at, fuck, he's not even in the top 50. No, he's 38. Okay. Tapologies is not accurate, but I like to get, kind of an idea. So he just took out somebody that's like far down the rankings. Is it crazy to go Edmund Shabazian versus Leroy Duncan next? I kind of like that matchup. I don't think it's a far-fetched idea at all. If they want to move him up to, a little more of a savage level, I don't hate the idea of him versus an Andrey Petroski. But to be fair, Petroski's won 3 fights in a row. Either of those matchups make a lot of sense, though. I think Shabazian in a prospect battle, Shabazian kind of just a busted prospect, or maybe they go Petroski. But I do think that Leroy Duncan's going to get like a good jump in comp. He's not going to be fighting another debuting guy next time. I don't think that would make much sense for him at this point of his career. So we'll see what the UFC ends up deciding, but I like Leroy Duncan to get another test forward. He's 29. He's coming into his own. He's well-versed. And I think that, he's got, I don't know about top 15 potential, but he's got staying power. I think he'll be on the roster for a while. So congrats to Leroy Duncan with the win. Next fight, Marcin Tybura, Mick Parkin. Another one where the decision was testy. So round number 1 was relatively competitive striking exchange, but I think Mick Parkin landed a few better shots. A little bit cleaner in the stand-up, fought off the grappling attack until the last 5 seconds. He was taken down with, like 3 seconds remaining in the round, really, when they actually got to the floor. And then round number 2, Mick Parkin was actually really dominant, was able to out-grapple Tybura and beat him up from top position. Parkin's grappling looked good. So round 2 was like a clear Parkin. Round 1, I slightly scored towards Parkin, but it was relatively close. It wasn't like it was a shutout. And then round 3, Marcin Tybura's gas tank came in handy, and he did more against Mick Parkin. Landed better shots in round number 3, had a bit more oomph on his strikes, and I do think Mick Parkin lost that third and final round. So at the end of it, my scorecard was 29-28 Parkin, but it actually goes unanimous decision on the opposite side. But I said this during live stream. Though I may personally disagree with the decision, I cannot sit here and claim that this is a robbery because round 1 was a very close one. I thought Parkin had won by an inch, right? And there's an argument that it could go the other way. Though I felt Parkin should have nabbed the first 2 rounds, did not finish the fight strong, and losing that third round is what cost him. He got tired. Tybura didn't. Mick Parkin was very exhausted in round 3, and Tybura's speed came in handy in that third and final round. And he ends up giving Mick Parkin his first loss as a pro. Tybura is good at checking these up-and-comers. He did it to Janiz. He did it here with Parkin. Marcin Tybura is that type of fighter. I mean, he's like a gritty OG that, can still mix it up. He's ready for 3 hard. You got to be prepared for 3 hard to take out Tybura. It's not like Tybura's striking was really better than Mick Parkin's. In the first 2 rounds, Parkin seemed to be the better fighter, but then he didn't finish strong. And when you have a competitive round 1 that could essentially go either way, you end up getting sold on the decision, man. You're not going to get that England bias, I guess, unfortunately. Even though I did feel like Parkin was slightly more effective with striking and damage in round 1, that it should have edged him the round. This, when you finish a fight slowly and you clearly lose a third round, you never know what the judges are thinking on a toss-up round 1. Round 2 was good for Parkin, though. He looked pretty solid, actually, in round 2. Still young, in his 20s at heavyweight, so a shitload of time to continue his developmental process. But, gas tank woes are a bit of a concern against like a gritty OG that is Marcin Tybura. And that's ultimately what cost him the whole damn fight. He's going to look back and say, fuck, man, my gas tank sold here. And the gas tank did sell. So congrats to Marcin, giving him a bit of a veteran lesson. Parkin, I mean, he's close to top 10 level, I would say, but not there. He's like a, striking version of a Martian. I'm sure in a few years, Mick Parkin will beat some up and coming guy that ends up being overrated. But right now, still things to work on, though he shows signs of being a top 10 guy. Let's keep running up. Next one, Loughran, Kavanagh, Felipe Dos Santos. Now, round number one, Felipe Dos Santos absolutely cracked Loughran Kavanagh. He landed a fantastic shot in round one, landed elbows that sliced Kavanagh up. And Felipe Dos Santos in the first round looked like an absolute menace to society with his striking. And I thought he clearly won the first. But second and third, Kavanagh landed some big shots, was able to secure some key takedowns, garner some control time. And Felipe Dos Santos also, I have to mention this, man, fence grabs, illegal up kicks, shots to the back of the spine. I mean, how many fouls did Felipe Dos Santos get away with in this fight? He could have easily deducted a point. Because, like, yeah, he didn't, eye gouge him 3 times and get a point deducted, but he's still committing multiple fouls, though different kinds of fouls. We got fouls on fouls on fouls on fouls from Felipe Dos Santos, and he really wasn't abiding by the rule set. But that being said, it was good that Loughran Kavanagh was able to overcome a difficult fight like this against a gritty guy like Felipe Dos Santos, who's got a size advantage on him, had, a bit more UFC experience. This was the 4th fight for Felipe, only the 2nd for Loughran Kavanagh's, but still, Kavanagh finds a way to dig deep and pull through. The kid's got a lot of talent, still very young, 9-0 as a professional. Slow climb up the ranks would be the best climb for Loughran Kavanagh moving up. But I do think that, the next couple of years, the kid could really come together. I feel like he has promise for certain. And getting a clear win over Felipe Dos Santos, I was happy for him. I was happy for Loughran Kavanagh. I thought he won 29-28. People were saying to me, oh, but the damage. Listen, if you do big damage in round 1 that causes a cut, just because you do some shots that land in round 3, you're still losing the fight. Doesn't mean you win the 3rd round because of the damage you did in the 1st round. Kavanagh secured the 2nd and 3rd round with no relative doubt. Mixing and grappling, landing some big shots on the feet. He pulled it off. 1st round, excellent for Dos Santos. But at the end of it all, Loughran Kavanagh was effective enough in the 2nd and 3rd, I felt, to have won a decision and keep the undefeated streak going. Might get busted at some point, though, because, when you beat a Felipe Dos Santos, they got to jump the level, right? Was he going to fight a debuting guy next? I don't know, unless they want to coddle him on his way up, which they could because he's, a guy from England that's coming up with some hype. But if they matchmake him against someone higher level, I could see him potentially getting handled. I don't know if he's quite ready for that. Like, he's definitely not ready for the top 15 yet. So slow and steady wins the race with a kid like Loughran Kavanagh, who shows glimpses of greatness, but still very much a developing guy with a well-rounded tool set, though, and beating big menacing frame that Felipe Dos Santos brings with good athleticism and having to overcome some fouls. Good performance, man. Next fight, Jai Herbert, Taco Padilla, savage dog lock. Taco Padilla pulls through. I was rather grateful that Taco Padilla was able to overcome Jai Herbert's length. Padilla had striking moments. I saw some people that felt it was a robbery. I actually thought Taco did a little bit more in round 1. It wasn't a super entertaining or crazy back and forth fight, but it's not what it's about. It's about the breakdown of what happened. I thought Taco had landed the better shots in round 1, and I thought Taco landed better shots in round 2 and was able to back Jai Herbert against the cage, get control time, land some knees. He was still throwing effective knees there. So I thought after the first 2 rounds, Taco seemed to be ahead 2-0, landing better shots. And to be fair, a lot of the strikes that Jai was landing weren't actually getting through. They were hitting the guard of Padilla, and Padilla's defense is very sound, and he's able to avoid the real damage from those shots. And then round 3, though, to be fair, I give credit where it is due for Jai. I thought he was slightly more effective in the 3rd round, put a little bit of pressure on Padilla late, landing combinations, landing high kicks. Like, I thought he had stole round 3, even though Padilla early in round 3 was looking good. I think Jai had a little more oomph left, and thought that he pulled off the 3rd round. So 29-28 was the perfect scorecard. I did not think Jai Herbert deserved a win in this fight at all. I thought Padilla did just enough to pull through. It wasn't a dominant display. It was a very competitive display. Wasn't able to get it to the ground and show his grappling skill. Wasn't able to land any crazy shots that like badly hurt Jai, but a couple key combinations with straight punches and uppercuts, some nice kicks to the legs. Chris Padilla did pretty much just enough. He's still a young guy at 29. He's got a lot of room to develop, man. And Jai's been around for a minute at now 36. And I think the decision was right. Padilla outworking Jai Herbert in a close one here. Now, it's not a win for Padilla that's going to jump his stock. People are not going to be going crazy because, you know, it really wasn't an entertaining fight. But he did what had to be done against a very crafty kickboxer in Jai Herbert, who's good at managing distance and fight from the outside. And Padilla in the first 2 rounds, I felt like he won most of the boxing exchanges. So he showcased pretty good hands against a longtime vet at this point in Jai. So for Taco Padilla, I think that he still has a good potential. I am thinking, okay, Taco just beat a guy that, you know, if you beat him, you're more so considered amongst the better level of guys, right? Jai Herbert had a draw with Ludovic Klein, you know, lost to Fares Ziam, fought Ilia Topuria. There's a lot of, you know, high level opposition that he's faced off against. And now I'm looking, I'm like, okay, do we match Taco up heavy? Like, does he get a big jump up the ranks? Because, you know, beating Jai Herbert, say what you want about Jai, at times you got to question his chin and all. He fights good opposition consistently. You know, is it crazy if they did Taco Padilla versus like a Nazim Sadikov? I don't think that's a horrible idea. If they're looking to give him that, you know, solid jump up the ranks and really test him, I feel like that could, I don't know. I feel like that could work actually. Taco Padilla in that level of matchup against Sadikov, I'm interested in that fight. Could do Taco Padilla versus Terrence McKinney also. I think between those two, one of them both deliver entertaining fights. And I'd be curious to see as well how Terrence McKinney could deal with that puzzle of Taco Padilla. Taco McKinney kind of makes the more sense, but they may jump him up a little farther to a guy like Nazim Sadikov, who, you know, is undefeated in the UFC, has that draw to Slava Claus, but still undefeated in the octagon. And we're looking at an undefeated guy in the octagon in Chris Padilla at 3-0. So time to give Padilla a bit of a level jump. I mean, Jai Herbert's kind of that cloth and level, but I don't know, man. It's just Jai Herbert. He's just one of those forgotten guys on the roster, unfortunately. Not to shaft him, not to kick him when he's down, but he is. Good win for Chris Padilla. Good win for the Savage Dog Lock. What's that, 6 out of the last 7? 5 out of the last 6, I think, for the Savage Dog Lock. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Should honestly be 6 out of the last 6, but that's a different conversation. Taco Padilla, close decision, hard-fought win, pulls through. Let's keep running up. Main card opener. Make sure you guys hit the likes, and if you're new, subscribe. Morgan Charrière and Nathaniel Wood. This was one-way traffic. Nathaniel Wood had Morgan Charrière badly hurt in round 1. He was able to drop him. Seemed like Charrière could potentially get knocked out, but then, you know, Wood slowed it down, didn't go too crazy for the knockout as he normally doesn't. He's a calculated and technical fighter. Round 2, more success in striking. Charrière just did not have the technique or like the accuracy to really give Wood problems, man. He's trying to throw like big power shots, but like Wood is just out of the way of him, blocking him, slipping him, parrying him, landing better shots than return fire. He looked obviously faster than Morgan Charrière, cleaner with his technique than Charrière. And then round number 3, more of the same. Charrière started off round 3 well, but then Nathaniel Wood took over towards the end and started piecing Charrière up. And like Charrière just couldn't find him, man. He was trying to throw those like wide power shots, but it was just ineffective for a technician like Wood, who also is athletic and explosive. And I'll say Nathaniel Wood, this was kind of a statement win for him, because I think a lot of us, me included, I've started to doubt him after the Pineda fight, and then the loss to Neymar, though, was controversial. And then like his decision wins, right? This one here was like a no, I'm actually good. And I'm like, okay, Nathaniel Wood demands some respect now, and pulling off a pretty lopsided decision win against Morgan Charrière, who went to a split decision with Shepe Mariscal. I think that's pretty fucking impressive, man. And like when you think about Nathaniel Wood's staying power, dude is 9-3 in the UFC. He deserves some goddamn respect, and I got to give it to him. You know, going out there and beating Charrière, who has a bit of hype, is a nice win. I think he can fight the winner of Pat Sabatini and Joanderson Brito. I like the idea of that matchup. I think that's a very cool fight, and I think it's the right level jump for him. Not too far up the ranks, but a proper level jump that I think would make sense for somebody like Nathaniel Wood. I feel like that's kind of the path that he's trending towards, right? That type of fight. If they want to give him a fight against a gritty OG, I mean, you can match him up against Cub Swanson, who's coming off that badass win over Billy Q. But I'm not so sure that's the route that they want to go down. I kind of feel like they'll go Wood versus Joanderson Brito Sabatini winner. Something just sounds right about one of those, you know, two guys fighting against Nathaniel Wood. Now for Charrière, I don't know, fight down the ranks, give him somebody coming off an L. You know, I don't know his turnaround time. I'd like to see him maybe against a Nate the Train, maybe against a Fernando Padilla, actually. Fernando Padilla versus Morgan Charrière is a pretty cool fight. Padilla coming off that bad loss to Sean Woodson. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. I think that actually makes sense. Hopefully the UFC decides to do something like that. I like my matchmaking, dude. And I'll say that Nathaniel Wood deserves a lot of fucking respect, man. To go out there and handle a kind of ballistic and chaotic athletic guy like Morgan Charrière shows his craftiness. So respect to Wood. Let's keep running. Jordan Vucenic, fraud checked. He had a great debut. Nearly beat Garam in round 1. But I'll tell you, as the fight started and I saw Garam get his ass kicked, I said, fuck. I said, Vucenic might be getting checked here. Now, round number 1, Chris Duncan hurt Vucenic, had good control in the grappling, and like Chris Duncan just looked good in the first round. He definitely got the first round pretty handily, and he looked to be the better fighter. Round 2, actually, Vucenic started having striking success. He's finding shots on Duncan, kind of got him off balance a little bit. But at the end of it all, how does Vucenic lose? He gets locked into the signature move of Chris Duncan. Locked into a tight gilly that, like, you look like Vucenic's going to escape from, but no, he ends up tapping out. Chris Duncan strangles Vucenic. He did it to Błachowicz last time. Now he does it to Vucenic here. Back-to-back fights. Duncan's an underdog that everybody's sleeping on. What's crazy, I picked him against Oki, but not in this one. And then he ends up pulling off the submission. I thought it was pretty impressive. He definitely leaves vulnerabilities in striking, but on the flip side, he also has big power in his hands and like is willing to sit in the pocket and brawl. And his ground skills are very tricky to deal with. So Chris Duncan demands some respect. And to take out Vucenic, this is a nice win for him, honestly. Back-to-back W's, beating guys that were supposed to beat him. And his only loss inside of the UFC, now we look at it, to Manuel Torres. I mean, it ain't that bad. It's Manuel Torres. You're looking at 4-1 Chris Duncan in the UFC. Lightweight division. How young is he? 29? No, he's 31. 31, so, you know, I don't know how high he can take it, though, to be real. I don't know how far he takes it. Michael Johnson. Chris Duncan. Perfect fight. That would be fucking cool because Michael Johnson's fast, and when he's on point, he's super dangerous. And then there's the, you know, risk factor of Johnson getting caught. I think Chris Duncan, to attempt to avenge his teammate Dustin Poirier's loss, should fight against the aging Michael Johnson. That is the AJ matchmaker of the day call. For Vucenic, it's got to be like a debuting guy or something. Move down the ranks. Definitely got checked pretty seriously here, and this was a rough loss for him. But to be fair, Chris Duncan is always a tough customer. It's not like Vucenic's an awful fighter. It's just, you know, not nearly as good as anticipated after that debut. But seeing how Garam performed, if Garam would have fought last week like that, and then this week, I think most people would have been picking Duncan. But because, you know, we were thinking Garam's better than he really is, and Vucenic looked good early in the fight, give us like a false hope. So shout out to Chris Duncan, though, for outdogging Vucenic to the finish. Nice guillotine. Respect on that win. Next fight, Molly McCann, Alexia Thainara. This was one-sided. Molly McCann retired after. Alexia Thainara gets the fight to the ground, takes the back of Molly, takes her time, picking her apart slowly, working to getting the choke in, and then she gets it in. I mean, just dominant grappling display. Thainara is way better at jiu-jitsu. Molly McCann has always had a big weakness of grappling. I mean, she got submitted in the first round by Stolyarenko, and her ground skills just leave a lot of things to be desired. And Thainara, good Brazilian prospect, looked awesome on Contender Series, really athletic striking flow, really good grappling skill set, has high-quality jiu-jitsu, trains alongside Amanda Hebos and her team. So for her to get the fight to the ground and then just absolutely wreck Molly McCann, showing levels in the jiu-jitsu, to be honest, no surprise when it got there. But I did think she'd be met by at least a bit more resistance with Molly Meatballs. You think Molly would have landed a couple of big shots, but like she was honestly getting outstruck and then got out-grappled. So decided to retire after. I agree. I think it's the right move. Unless they wanted to do like her versus Stella Nunes and just do like a fun fight. Molly said, nah, I don't want to just keep fighting for paychecks if I can't compete at this level. And I respect her going out like that. She lost 2 in a row. what she like 1-4 over her last 5. And I think it was kind of the final farewell to the British fans for Molly McCann. It's like the way that she got beat. If she would have went even 2 rounds and had competitive moments, she cracks Thainara, she gets up from a takedown, you know, escapes the back control. If there was moments of positive to take things away from, I'm sure Molly wouldn't have retired. But it's a fact it was just a one-sided ass whooping. And Thainara's a decent prospect. I mean, say what you want about Molly McCann. Come in, debut, and run over Molly in that way. I mean, it's more impressive than what Bruna Brazil did to her. Now, it's not like Molly McCann is a top-rated girl in the women's divisions, but she's definitely at a decent enough level. Thainara versus Ariane Carnelossi. That's not a bad idea. Or maybe Thainara versus Piera Rodriguez. Those are 2 cool options. Those actually make a lot of sense. I don't know if they're going to match them up because of, you know, timelines, of course, but one of those 2. Carnelossi or Piera Rodriguez. I know Piera Rodriguez and Carnelossi actually just fought each other, and it was a DQ win for Piera Rodriguez in that fight. Or excuse me, for Carnelossi in that fight, even though Piera Rodriguez was winning. But I could see the match being made. I don't know. Something tells me that Thainara, you know, she's going to get a light jump, but not really a jump. And I could see somebody like a Carnelossi being a perfect second UFC fight for her. At least she can test her with the physicality. Same would go for, you know, if they give her Piera Rodriguez. Piera's got some grappling, you know, fighting against Molly McCann. Respect to her taking on short notice. She is ready to turn around quick. So don't be surprised if you see her in the next couple months, because she may wait on a week's notice, and she got out of this fight in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. So not competitive at all. Respect to Thainara showing grappling dominance. And let's keep running up. Next fight on the card, feature fight. Kevin Holland. I told you I have faith in Holland. I picked Holland. And it's because I said to myself, you know, Kevin Holland's got grit. Kevin Holland at 170 is better. And he proved it. Dropped Gunnar Nelson in the first round. And even on the ground, when he's taken down by Nelson, it's not like he just gave up his back. Like, yeah, Reinier de Ridder threw him to the ground and fucked him up quick. But the physicality of de Ridder is a different level. I mean, you're talking about a guy that fought up in weight at light heavyweight before. Kevin Holland is a welterweight that just didn't like cutting weight and was fighting at 85. So, yeah, he got ran over on the ground there. But then you look at this matchup. So then he's threatening, actually, has an omoplata in round 1 and forces Gunnar Nelson to stand. Holland escapes the position, gets back up to his feet with the scramble, lands a big shot that drops Nelson, some big ground and pound. Kevin Holland was looking like a savage. Round number 2 kicks off, and Kevin Holland, kind of more of the same, right? Striking's there. Nelson trying to attack. Kevin Holland taken down, but throwing shots from the bottom and definitely landing shots from the bottom. At the end of round 2, he was taken down, but the early portion, he was having success working with Gunnar Nelson. But eventually, Nelson's grappling skills came in handy, and he was able to drag this fight to the floor. I still felt like Holland secured the second round, though he was on the bottom at the end of it. He was landing more shots. And then round 3, competitive, more of the same. Gunnar Nelson did have an arm triangle in round 3 that was close. Gunnar Nelson had, dominant position for a moment, had the mount, had the arm triangle. Then Kevin Holland, thankfully, able to scramble and escape, get back up to his feet. And then he finished the fight with some striking success for sure, but not any like massively significant moments around 3. So I thought third round you could have gave to Gunnar, and got to give Gunnar some respect for, at least putting up a decent effort in a loss to Kevin Holland here, because he doesn't fight often at all. And to go 3 hard against a super active guy like Kevin, who fights like every 90 days, is pretty badass. But yeah, man, Kevin Holland deserved to win at the end. Better striking in the third round, but still that close submission attempt swayed the judges towards Gunnar. I was just glad we got a fair decision. I was a little nervous. I was like, oh my God, are they going to score this fight towards Gunnar? They're going to somehow say that he got round 2, but no. Thankfully, the judges kept it just and fair, and Kevin Holland pulled off a unanimous decision, getting back on track. I thought he was a live underdog, but the worry would always be, and I said this throughout the week, the worry would be, is he just fighting for checks? I don't think so. I think Kevin Holland really wants to win. It's just at 170, he's a winner. At 185, yeah, just give him strikers. Like he said, if it's at 85, just give him fun matchups against just strikers. Like if he wants to go back up to 85, we can do like a Shaura bullet fight. But we're not getting him versus any grapplers, please. Enough of this shit. No more grapplers at 185. At 170, you can give him any style because his length allows him to use his legs well on the ground and make it very difficult for guys, even as good as Gunnar Nelson is at jiu-jitsu, to really get dominant position and do much. I mean, granted, yeah, like I said, had the arm triangle for a second, more than a second, but Kevin Holland answered the phone well. used the cage well, and then was able to spin through and get out, which is a good defensive technique. And Kevin Holland showed that he wanted it bad because he had to dig deep here against Gunnar Nelson. I mean, if he really wanted out of his career, he could have tapped out. That arm triangle was pretty tight, but Nelson, unable to finish it because Holland's like, nah, I'm not letting him tap me out. I want this win. I want to fight in the UFC. And he keeps his UFC roster spot alive, and he defended 7 out of 10 takedowns. So I think Holland deserves some respect for that, man. Tried to take down himself. Didn't get Gunnar down, but he tried it. And at 170, his grappling's a lot better. This total strike number differential is crazy. Gunnar Nelson, I mean, most of his success in the fight, pretty much all of it, was just grappling, whereas Kevin Holland was able to land strikes from the bottom, strikes on the feet, throwing elbows as Nelson is shooting takedowns and backing him up against the cage. It was good work for Kevin. Now, at welterweight, things get interesting, right? Because, Gunnar Nelson is not an active fighter, but Gunnar Nelson has very good jiu-jitsu skills. Gunnar Nelson was on a 2-fight win streak. If he wants to stick around at 170, the direction that we bring Kevin Holland, that's what I'm asking myself. Like, is it crazy to match him up with somebody like Carlos Leal, who's coming off of a badass win? If it's at 170, I don't think that's a reach. Is it crazy at 170 to match him up with the winner of Randy Brown and Nicholas Dalby? No, I think those are actually both very viable options for him. Be kind of cool to watch him fight Chidi Bang Bang at 170 also to see how he does with another freakishly long guy who has good Muay Thai. I like that matchup as well if you're looking for like 3 options. But seems like, if they want to really throw him towards a savage like Leal and see if he's still near that top 20 level, that's a possibility. Could give him, a Brown Dalby winner, which I don't think is a bad idea. The thing about Kevin Holland is if he's fighting at 170, he said he wants time. So I don't know what weight class he'll be fighting in next. And if it's at 170, he needs more time to recover. But if it's going to be at 85, he could be matched up against anybody. They could give him Charrière Bullet at 185. But at least Kevin Holland is back with a win. And now he secures himself in a spot where we're not worried about getting him released. He can go up to 85, lose a fight, come back down to 70, fight. He could lose at 70. He can fight again at 85, lose, then he can fight again and he could win. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, oh shit, Holland's lost 3 in a row and now he's out. No, he's got some room to work now. Kevin Holland's got a little bit of comfort. Back with a W, looking good at 170, which normally at 170, he does look quite good. And I think if he actually is looking to win fights and take his career serious, 170 is a weight class. 85, those guys are just too big. He admitted himself he can't grapple with those guys that are that much bigger than him. And I think 170 is the place to be if you're Kevin Holland. But if they want him for a quick turnaround, give him a striker like Charrière Bullet at 85. I don't think anybody's complaining. So shout out Kevin Holland for a nice win. And I was very hype on that fight, man. I was hyped that the read was proper on Holland. Did some damage too to Gunnar. The hands of Kevin Holland still there. And I think his grappling skills are extremely underplayed because of some rough performances lately. But it's level of opposition and size of opponent that mean everything. So shout out Holland pulling through. Co-main event. This is the one that people are testy about. I know that people are testy about it. So the way that I'm going to talk about this is round by round. Carlos Ulberg in round 1 lost with the lower half. What do I mean by that? The better leg kicks were by Jan Błachowicz. He chopped up the legs nicely of Carlos Ulberg. But there was one big left hook that landed on Jan Błachowicz in round 1 that seemed to buckle him a little bit. So the biggest punch of round 1, Ulberg. More volume and damaging low kicks by Błachowicz. How do you score that? I think it's up to debate. Do you favor more a headshot that does a little damage, or do you favor multiple leg kicks that are clean? I could see an argument towards both sides. So let's throw round 1 out of the window. Round number 2, Carlos Ulberg is tactical, landing pretty good shots from the outside, leg kicks of his own, decent long-distance strikes, forcing Jan Błachowicz to miss. And I think Carlos Ulberg in round number 2 did enough to definitely secure that round. Round 3, Carlos Ulberg actually got off to an amazing start and looked very dominant early in round 3, and he cut both eyes of Jan Błachowicz in that third and final round. The later stage of the third round, I believe after Ulberg failed a takedown, Jan Błachowicz did land a stiff jab, couple of shots on the feet. Obviously, he still was landing other shots, but significant shots of note. He caught Ulberg with a decent jab that was clean and chopped him with some kicks, but it wasn't anything substantial. And I felt like Ulberg had done just enough to even secure that third round as well, doing more damage, landing bigger shots, and landing cleaner shots. So I thought second and third round were definitely Ulberg's, finishing the fight strong. First round, it's up to debate. I can see how it goes towards Jan because of the leg kicks over the one big headshot that landed to, like, some kicks low, but not as significant as what Jan did. So 29-28, I thought was a completely fair scorecard because I felt like Ulberg secured the fight, winning the second and third round. People hated the way that both these guys were fighting, very tentative against one another, very patient flow. Ulberg was circling a lot in the fight, trying to avoid Jan's blitzes by even running away at one point, which I know people hate seeing that, me included, for sure. Ulberg was more tactical and slightly more precise than Jan Błachowicz, and I felt like 2-1, fair decision. There is an argument that you could score the first round for him as well, and it could be 30-27. And I know a lot of you will hate that. The Polish Power has, a loving fan base. And listen, I like the Polish Power too. Who doesn't? But he's 42. He's coming off double shoulder surgery, and that's a massive injury. Of course he's not going to perform at the same rate that he once did. Of course not. Of course not. When I look at it, I say to myself, okay, Carlos Ulberg is developing well. Carlos Ulberg is really starting to, I think, come into his own. I think Carlos Ulberg deserved the win at the end of it, and taking out a Jan, though it was a very tentative and safe fight, is still impressive. Now, where does he go from here? It's not a title fight right away. It's probably a Yuri Prochazka fight, because I feel like a win like this leaves me wanting one more. I actually love the idea of Yuri Prochazka versus Jan Błachowicz as well. I'd be okay with either matchup, to be fair, but I feel like if you're talking about a top contender fight, Yuri coming off the win over Hill, if he then beats Ulberg, there's an argument he's next in line to fight either Ankalaev and Pereira. Fuck it. We can do Pereira and him for the part 3 if Pereira somehow beats Ankalaev, which I don't think is super likely, but still. And I feel like Ulberg, though he has a big win against Jan Błachowicz, the lack of impressiveness, nobody's begging for the UFC to give him the next title fight. If he went out there and flatlined Jan Błachowicz, probably would be more cemented as, okay, he can be next in line, and maybe, you could do Yuri versus Błachowicz or Yuri versus X fighter. Kind of sends him in a difficult spot that probably needs one more to get the title fight. I think a number 1 contender fight over the course of 5 rounds, not a 3-round fight, against Yuri Prochazka makes the most sense. I don't like that this fight was 3 rounds. I think that was a big mistake by the UFC. I think this should have been a 5-round fight to get a true absolute idea of who is the significantly better fighter, as opposed to leaving it to a very close decision like this where there seems to be argument. Though I scored it clearly for Ulberg, there is still competitive moments for Jan, and he wasn't, absolutely destroyed in the fight. He just lost the technical battle by enough each and every round to go against him, or, according to the judges, 2 out of the 3. For Błachowicz, though, I think his best bet is trying to get back in the next 5-6 months. For a fighter in his 40s, activity is going to be his best friend. So if he is okay to turn around ASAP, could be a fight against a Jamal Hill-Khalil Roundtree loser, could be a fight against, Rakic in a rematch, could be a fight of a matchup that I'm not even considering or thinking of. Don't hate the idea of him fighting Yuri Prochazka if they don't go the route of Ulberg versus Prochazka also, because I've always wanted to see Błachowicz versus Prochazka, but it's just kind of escaped us. Unfortunately, Jan's in a rough spot, right? Split decision loss to Pereira, draw with Ankalaev, and now a competitive loss to Ulberg at 42. He's out of the title picture, at least for now. But to be fair, at this weight class here, he steps in and fights somebody and wins impressively, and he wins one more impressively. You can be right back in the title picture. But he's 42 years old. So does he have another run left in him? Does he have 2 fights and then one more being the title fight? Does he have a 3-fight run left in him at 42? By the time he gets those 3 fights in, he might be 44 years old. So I think the likelihood of Jan Błachowicz sniffing a title shot is low. Sniffing a title, essentially 0. I don't see that. And I think he probably doesn't get a title shot. But I definitely think some fun main events left. And if he can stay active, bro, it will be amazing for the light heavyweight division. We need him around more often. And there's still a Pereira rematch. There's still an Ankalaev rematch that exists if somehow, Pereira loses against Ankalaev. Pereira versus Błachowicz. Nobody's complaining. I think people would like to see it. Ulberg beats Yuri. Yuri versus Błachowicz. Khalil Roundtree wins against Jamal Hill. You could do Roundtree versus Błachowicz, or you could do Hill versus Błachowicz. There's plenty of options. He's still amongst the elite in the weight class, but now he is out of the title picture. And I think Ulberg, number 1 contender fight versus Yuri should be what's next, not Ulberg in a title fight against the winner of Pereira Ankalaev, because I don't know how long he's going to have to wait. He needs to go out and get one more W, and I think Prochazka is the perfect matchup for it. Unfortunately, the Jan Błachowicz fight is actually what I wanted more for Yuri Prochazka, but we're just going to have to wait on that. I do think at some point we have a glimmer of hope that that fight comes to reality for kind of like a king of European light heavyweight fight. I think that'd be really fun, and I hope that they do make it sometime in Europe. It's a great 5-round main event, but right now it doesn't seem next. But maybe it is. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the UFC will treat Jan as the winner and they'll move him forward. Maybe they'll give him Yuri Prochazka. They felt it was close enough that it could have went his way. Maybe the UFC will agree it was a bad decision, right? And then they'll do, okay, we're going to do Yuri versus Jan Błachowicz. And if he goes out and wins that, he could be back in the title picture. I don't know. But deserving off the result that I saw with my eyes is Ulberg in a number one contender fight, Błachowicz against somebody else. Close to the top, though. He's close to the top still. The younger Ulberg, bit craftier, bit more technical, bit faster. The speed difference was evident. And Błachowicz didn't really grapple. He was really unable to. Ulberg, takedown defense holds up for the one attempt Jan shot at him. But Jan was not there to grapple. He was there to strike and lost in a close point fighting battle to the younger kickboxer. So Carlos Ulberg, the top guy from City Kickboxing right now. And he's really, in the waiting for a title fight. He's right there. One more win, I think, title shot. So the Yuri Prochazka fight, don't be surprised when that's booked for him. And Ulberg winning was fabulous, man. It was disappointing for the fans, I know. But if you're talking about the betting side, for my side of things with all the parlays, plus 1,200, plus 1,000, a lot of savage others. We'll talk about it at the end. So on the bright side of Ulberg winning, there was a lot of people cashing big checks. So congrats to all the winners. For the fan side, yes, of course, Błachowicz, probably, fun for the sport. Błachowicz comes back, he knocks out Ulberg. He's going to beat Ankalaev in the rematch. And then, the Polish power fans come out in droves. But just wasn't meant to be because it ain't about what we want to see. It's about what is. And I think Ulberg is better, and Ulberg deserved the win. So respect to Ulberg. Big W there. Let's keep moving up. Next fight, main event. Went better than I expected, but how I expected. Sean Brady absolutely toyed with Leon. It was not competitive. Brady landed better shots on the feet in round 1, then got Leon to the ground. Round 2, dominance in round 3. It's just dominance. Grappling dominance, but also Sean Brady outstruck Leon. He landed better shots. His boxing looked really nice in this fight. Sean Brady's hands are underrated. He has gotten way better at boxing since that loss to Bilal. Like, he had Leon looking uncomfortable in close range. And let me tell you this. I talked about it earlier in the week. I released a video on Wednesday. Staph infection. Leon Edwards had evidence of having a staph infection in the lead up to the fight. He, I believe, lied to fans and said it was 6 weeks ago. You don't have a visible staph infection like that if it's 6 weeks past. He was fighting still being under, the staph infection, the antibiotics. Something was off. I'm not discrediting Brady. He was incredibly dominant, and he would have won either way. But Leon Edwards also probably battling the staph. It made it even more clear. Like, Sean Brady whooped his ass. Leon had nothing for Sean Brady. It was not competitive. Like, Sean Brady put on a world-class performance and a win that puts him in the title conversation now. And we have to have a serious talk in a second about him fighting for the title soon. The way he submitted Leon Edwards was absolutely badass with the mounted guillotine. The fact that he dominated every grappling position. Bilal actually had competitive moments against Leon. Sean Brady absolutely dog-walked him to a dominant win. He outstruck him, he outgrappled him, he outdogged him, and just completely handled the former champion with ease. And I think Leon Edwards, it's safe to say, he's out of the title picture, potentially washed. Potentially washed, man. His days at the top are over. I thought Jack Della was going to handle him. I just felt like Leon didn't have that oomph anymore. Sean Brady handled him with ease, giving him a complete lesson in the grappling and just showing levels. I think Sean Brady versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. And now he's, Shavkat's waiting for a title fight. So a close win over Ian Gary warrants a title over Sean Brady dominating Leon Edwards. I would prefer to see Sean Brady fight Shavkat in a true number one contender fight. Enough of this promising bullshit. Times change. You can't just sit on the sidelines and wait with a win over Ian Gary because you were supposed to be in the title fight and then get it because, I was supposed to be there, so I deserve it. But you barely beat Ian Gary. He has to fight against Sean Brady. I don't think Shavkat's jumping the line and just getting the next shot. This is a bigger win. Brady beating Edwards more dominantly than Bilal and finishing him. You could argue Sean Brady should be next in line for the JDM and Bilal winner after this performance here because he handled Leon with ease, absolutely dominated every round, garnering tons of control time, just beating him up with ground and pound too. Leon had no answer. He's just getting pounded out. Back control, mount, just every position on the ground, just showing levels of jiu-jitsu and grappling knowledge. Sean Brady looked great. And the fact that his boxing looked good too made me happy. Guy from Philly goes to England to beat a guy with the nickname Rocky. Seems like the real life Rocky story. I said it all week and it came to reality. Sean Brady was extremely dominant and gave Leon Edwards a lesson. And I think you have to put Sean Brady in the conversation of elites now. Sean Brady versus Shavkat Rakhmonov for the real number one contender fight. That's the way they got to go. If they don't do that, well, okay, Shavkat waiting in the wings. What if Brady takes another fight, gets another win? I don't know who the opposition may be against, but like what? Now Shavkat just warranted the tough. He's going to sit on the sidelines and just wait because it's Shavkat? Because he beat Ian Gary in a close fight? I'll tell you this, and say what you want about this opinion. I think Sean Brady dog walks Ian Gary. I think Sean Brady makes Ian Gary look like Leon Edwards in this fight here. So when I think about now a matchup between Shavkat and Brady, that intrigues me. I'm not saying that Brady is dog walking Shavkat, but it's definitely a fight that, like, you can't be super sure. You'd got to wonder. Brady's got a chance on the ground with Shavkat. He's definitely got a chance in the striking. It's not like Shavkat's untouchable. I want to see that fight. I want to see Brady and Shavkat. That's a badass 5-round fight. That's a real number one contender fight. And I think it's the fight that should be made. Jack Della obviously kind of granted the title fight. A little bit of that Dana White privilege put into the spot because of his entertaining style, for sure. You know, after this fight, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, does JDM knock out Belal? Is this the world we're living in? JDM outdogs Belal, catches him with a big combo, doesn't get finished on the ground, taken down a bit, but in the striking shows levels, catches Belal, buckles him, and TKOs him. I'm just having fantasies about it. I'm seeing visions of it because the way Sean Brady dog walked Leon was super impressive. I know you say, oh, but Belal beat Sean Brady too. But yeah, Sean Brady leveled up since then. To be fair, not saying that the Belal win, it doesn't, require some merit and respect, but just some thoughts crossing my mind. Sean Brady, Shavkat, Leon Edwards versus Ian Gary. Bang, do it. That's it. But, Leon might not want to fight anymore. He don't look like he wants to fight anymore. He's had mental issues in the past where he struggles with confidence. We saw it in the Usman rematch, but he was able to come back and pull off the win. I think he's out of the top. I mean, Ian Gary versus Leon makes a ton of sense to me, but I don't know the timeline of return that Ian Gary wants. Sean Brady versus Shavkat is the perfect fight. That's a real number one contender fight with Jack Della fighting in May against Belal. That's the matchup to make, man. And Sean Brady didn't really take any damage. Depending on when Shavkat's ready, we could make it go. We could make it happen. I mean, there's an argument you could say, oh, well, what if we did Joaquin Buckley versus Sean Brady, and just make him wait. But he took it on short notice against Leon, and he destroyed him. I feel like Sean Brady on a 3-fight win streak and just dominating Leon and submitting him, finishing Leon, beating him more impressively than the current champion did. That, to me, warrants top level. And that's why I feel like Sean Brady in a number one contender fight would make a lot of sense, man. I think he should also stay ready and stay near weight just in case there's an issue with Jack Della or Belal. Brady could jump in on short notice and, knock a title fight or maybe an interim title fight, which is a crazy take, but it's a possibility. I want to see Buckley versus Usman so bad, but it wouldn't be horrible if they did Leon versus Buckley. It's more just, I don't know what the timeline of return is for Leon Edwards. Like, if that didn't matter, I'd probably go Leon Edwards versus Ian Gary because I really want to see that fight. It's a good striking matchup. I want to see Leon fight a striker, man. Not a guy who can take him down. The Joaquin Buckley, another fight. That's interesting, right? Because Buckley, though he's got some wrestling, more so known for a stand-up. I think Leon's past his best days, though, man. And I think he got handled here. But I still think against kickboxers, he's got a solid shot. I just see him as out of the elite. Isn't it crazy, though? Usman is the one that, got knocked out by Leon and started the Leon era. And now Usman, he fought once since then? Since their trilogy, I guess. And he's just sitting on the sidelines waiting for his opportunity to strike. I still love the Buckley versus Usman fight, though. I feel like you got to make that. And Leon versus Ian Gary is perfection. And then Sean Brady versus Shavkat. Perfect matchmaking. If timelines didn't matter, those were all the perfect fights. I just don't know the timeline of return for said fighters, right? Depending on injuries, depending on where their weight's at, how long of camps they're going to need, depending on what the UFC wants to do with certain matchups and where the fights are going to take place. But like later this summer, if they're back in Europe, have Edwards versus Gary. If they went to Ireland and did Edwards versus Gary in a main event, that's a fucking awesome fight. That's a badass fight. That's the right thing to do with Leon, is give him a fight like Ian Gary. That's a matchup I want. And for Sean Brady, top contender fight versus Shavkat. But somehow I could see a world where we go Sean Brady versus Buckley, though. because Shavkat's just got the Shavkat privilege. But I don't think he deserves the title fight. Now, after seeing what Brady did to Leon, he's more of a top contender. Like Shavkat's resume, his last three: Jeff Neal, Wonderboy, Ian Gary. Sean Brady's last three: Leon Edwards, Gilbert Burns, Kelvin Gastelum. I think that last three, I mean, you can shit on the Gastelum fight, I guess, but I think at least the last two, I mean, beating Gilbert Burns and beating Leon Edwards is bigger than beating Ian Gary and Wonderboy. I think so. Sean Brady's got a more impressive resume than Shavkat. He's 18-1 also. Shavkat 19-0, a little better record, prettier record. That's the right fight to make, though. I want to see who wins. I know you want to see who wins, too. We're all curious. What the fuck would go down between those two? I need to see it. We need to see it. The community needs it. The community needs it, chat. We need it to happen. I need it to happen. We all need it to happen, guys. We pray that it happens. I do. I think there is a real possibility that it ends up coming to fruition. It could be, maybe it's a pipe dream for me. Maybe I'm just reaching, but I don't think so. I think it's real. Sean Brady versus Shavkat. Let me know in the comments if you agree. Sean Brady versus Shavkat. Do you not love that fight? It's just me who loves it? No way. No way. It's just me who loves that fight. And Ian Gary versus Rocky Edwards. Bang. Perfect matchups, bro. That's matchmaking extraordinaire right there, bro. Like Joe Silva in his fucking prime. But yeah, Leon got absolutely dog walked. I picked Sean Brady coming in. I thought the staff would give a possibility of an even more dominant win. And my God, it did. Amazing performance for Sean Brady. Give him his flowers. Savage Mode USA in the main event. Goes to England and takes out the pride and joy in Leon Edwards and chokes him the fuck out. Mounted guillotine. Levels to this shit. Sean Brady's top caliber and absolutely primed. Now, I want to go over the picks. To be honest, picks when you glance at the wins are fucking amazing. And we'll talk parlays as well. Sean Brady main event pick. Absolutely badass call for me. Carlos Ulberg, co-main event pick. Absolutely badass call. I know people hated the outcome, but Ulberg did enough to win. Kevin Holland, underdog, call over Nelson. Perfect call. So finished with a 4-fight win streak. Thainara over McCann, sub call. Perfect call there. And then lost there with Vucenic and Duncan. Vucenic sells. Good shit on Duncan. Lost with Charrière Wood, but the over 2.5 was a super confident parlay call I mentioned during the betting show. So if you're on the gambling side, this is still a W. Had Taco Padilla as my savage dog lock, beats Jai Herbert, W there. Had Loughran Kavanagh over Dos Santos, money call there. Thought Mick Parkin was going to beat the pride and joy of Poland, but L there. So I'll take the loss, even though it was a close decision. Could have went either way. Leroy Duncan, confident call, money call. Shauna Bannon, good win there. Good win, good pick. Robbed in the Fletcher and Loughran fight and took a fat L to start the night with Kauê and Garam. And I'll take that L right on the chin. That was a proper L. So what is it? Started off 0-2. Then we went 1-2, 2-2, 2-3, 3-3, 4-3, 4-4, 5-4. No, 4-5. What? I got to get my record, man. I'm confusing myself right now. Let's count, all right? So, main event, 1-0, right? Co-main event, 2-0, okay? Then 3-0, 4-0, 4-1, 4-2, 5-2, 6-2, 6-3, 7-3, 8-3, 8-4, 8-5, 8-5, but really, bro, it's 9-4, and you could argue it's 10-3, but we ain't gonna sit here and complain about the robberies too much. But there was some testy decisions that went against us, and I guess there were some close decisions that went our way, but I didn't think they were robberies. Now, to look at the parlays, let's bring it up here. This looks absolutely terrible, but the W parlays, man. Let's check out these W's. Let me actually bring it down so it doesn't look so strange covering my beautiful face, you know? All right. Let's bring it here. So, W parlays, we'll go down the list. Ulberg, CLD, safe call, money call. CLD, Kavanagh over 2.5, plus a 15. Live ult, hits, boom. Another one, safe-ish, hits, plus 133. Dog hits, plus 195. Ulberg, CLD, plus 393 with the quality play with Holland in the lineup. Dog money, plus 525 hits. Freaking Ulberg, CLD, over 2.5. Charrière Wood, Holland, Kavanagh, plus 559 on the money. The 10-1. Ulberg, we lost with this one. Ulberg, Fletcher, Padilla did not. That one's off. This one should have cashed, actually. That's why I brought it in. This one should have hit this 10-1. But then we brought Savage mode with Padilla, Ulberg, CLD over 2.5, Holland, Kavanagh plus 1245. In my mind, I was thinking this one cash, but yeah, Fletcher lost the decision. I disagree with the decision, but still not a win. But that should have been a win, to be honest. Overall, though, Savage calls hitting the 12-1. I feel pretty damn good about the breakdown and the predictions on this card, and I felt pretty locked in, and I'm ready as hell for next week. I hope you guys enjoyed the week's worth of content from me. I got love and appreciation for each and every one of you savages who always tune in. Make sure you guys all hit the like button. Make sure you guys all hit the subscribe button. Thank you guys for watching. Big W's to everybody in chat. You guys are awesome, man. I love my community, man. Thank you guys for always showing support. Let me know what you thought in the comments of the fights. I would say decent card, not great, no knockouts, but still it's a decent card. Not bad, man. I mean, yeah, the co-main event was kind of but the feature fight was good. The finish for Brady was badass. Definitely wasn't a bad card. Just, no knockouts was a little disappointing, but at least we got a knockdown. At least we got some big shots landed, some cuts, man. Some good back and forths. Thanks for watching, everybody. I got predictions dropping tomorrow, March 23rd, for this upcoming Mexico City card, so make sure you guys tune into it. The grind doesn't stop. The Marab of MMA YouTube, yours truly, keeps on kicking. Content every single day. You don't want to miss it. Turn the post notifications on so you don't miss a thing, a video or a live stream, because you know where to find me, right here on the MMA Experts channel. Much love, my people. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.